Hello, Dr. Maya Ziegler of Monarch Family Chiropractic. Welcome to our workshop titled Spinal Hygiene, Foundational Movements. And this is an important topic because our bodies are meant to move. They're meant to move frequently. They're meant to move in a diverse ranges of ways. They're meant to move all the time. And I'll get into it in more detail in a little bit, but I want to start with just talking about posture. And why do we care about your spinal hygiene? Posture is a window into your spine. Okay. And if you have healthy, aligned posture, that generally means your organs, your structure is in a balanced state. Your organs have all the space they need to do what they're meant to do. And you are moving in an aligned way, right? An easy analogy would be a car, right? If you have an aligned car, a car that's well taken care of, how well does it run? How efficient is it when it's, driving 500,000 plus miles, right? Versus a car that has not been well maintained, no oil changed, you got balding tires, right? The alignment is off. You put a tank of gas in that car, how long does it go, right? How is the ride for that 50, 100, 600,000 miles, right? Will it make it? And so when you're looking at your posture and you're looking at your structure, right? When you have appropriate alignment, the miles of life are going to look a lot different. And a lot of times that corresponds to your health, your level of health, right? Are you experiencing a level of vitality and function, or are you experiencing dis-ease, stress? And how does that show up posturally? So when we evaluate posture, we should see an ear that lines up with a shoulder, a hip, a knee, and an ankle. So here's a really great example of people, all age ranges, different sizes in terms of body type, carrying, a purse or a child or something on their head or nothing at all, right? You see appropriate posture. So when you look at these folks who have really nice alignment, do you see health or do you see disease, right? Let's look at another picture. Do we see health or do we see disease? How's their posture, right? You see forward posture in a pelvis. This is what we call a sway back. You see this similar presentation with all of these folks, but where they are really shifted forward, not much engagement through their core, and put stress on hip, knees, ankles very differently, right? So you can just see if these folks are standing for extended periods of time or walking or running or doing any type of weight training where they're adding weight to their structure or doing repetitive movements, how is this postural distortion going to impact their spine, going to impact their joints? And let's take, a bigger picture of how does it impact how their brain is able to process their environment, because the brain gets all of its information through its sensory input. So if we've got sensory input where a pelvis is shifted forward, and that's where the brain thinks normal, healthy structure is, how does that skew our ability to process our world? Okay, if we look at this person in the far right, not only do you see the pelvis that's rounded forward, but you can see some rounding through the mid back. There was some research that indicated in our later years, if you have an increased kyphotic curve, now we should have a natural kyphotic curve in our thoracic spine, right? It rounds this way. But if you increase that curve, you have really a hunchback, and you couple that with a respiratory illness like pneumonia or asthma or bronchitis, or maybe a cold like a coronavirus that really attacks the lungs like COVID, those people are 144% more likely to die with this presentation. So that gives you an idea of how important posture is and how it can literally mean the difference between life and death in our later decades. So addressing this early on is really important. So again, do you see health or do you see disease? Right? These guys, it looks like these pictures are taken in the 80s. Do you think our posture has gotten any better since then? Frankly, because we use technology and it is in every way such a big part of our life, seeing a forward posture, rounding, a forward or anterior head carriage is pretty common with everybody. And if we look at this third person over, we see an increased rounding through their thoracic spine. So we should have a kyphosis there, but that's an increased curve. You can see this too. But then you see how forward their pelvis is. And these imbalances cause significant stress to a system, right? Stress to organs, stress to a brain with how we process our world. Posture is so much more than, our moms telling us that we need to sit up straight. So when we talk about posture, yes, we're looking at overall movement and how you carry yourself structurally, but we also want to look at dialing in and how is that movement with your spine segmentally. That's where we look at, subluxation and how that can impact and stress a body. So a great example, how their posture. Do you see health or do you see disease? These women might very well be the exact same age. One looks pretty frail. One looks very resilient. One looks sturdy, very able to handle activities, workloads, movement, weight, right? This person looks very healthy, even though, by standards in terms of, waist height ratio, waist hip ratio, right? We anticipate, somebody who has a smaller waist circumference to be healthier. This woman is pretty sturdy, and yet she is looking very different than this gal on the left side, right? Increased kyphotic curve, forward head carriage. This person gets, bronchitis or pneumonia, and how are they going to fare compared to their counterpart? Is this woman ready to fall over if you add weight to her structure, right? Carrying a bag, how does that impact her balance? So we're literally seeing somebody who is more towards the health spectrum here versus somebody who's more towards the disease spectrum. And you can really look at, what is their life expectancy? What's their levels of vitality? And, what are their last 10 years of life looking like, right? So posture is huge. And the more we can move our spine, the better off we are. So how does it start? When we look at children, we see some of the best movement patterns, compared to adults. And so this is something that happens over time, happens during life, happens due to, activities that we take on or the lack thereof, right? So you can see these kiddos who are standing very upright, have nice ear, shoulder, hip, ankle, balance, right? So this is something that's learned over time, not something that is inherited. How's their posture? Do you see health or do you see disease? And I bring this up because just because you're older does not necessarily equate to poor posture or arthritis or degenerative processes, lack of balance, lack of movement. This is very much a learned activity and a result of our daily activities, day in and day out, long term. So you look at these kiddos and how they're squatting. This is great squatting posture. If you right now try and squat down, I want to know if you're able to do this, first of all. And is there difficulty? Is your body shifted forward? You see your knees ahead of your toes. Because we are meant to be in this posture no matter our age. You look at our counterparts in Asian countries. I spent some time in China, and I would come across groups, large groups, 20, 30 people, all squatting like these gentlemen or this fisherman or fisher person, you know, in a social setting. This is where they would go, you know, and you can take a look at their bathrooms. They squat to go to the bathroom because they have, their toilets are holes in the ground. So if we don't use it, we lose it. So if we're not squatting and moving our body in healthy ways on a daily basis and challenging our body on a daily basis, we lose this, and it requires a lot of work over time to regain it back, right? You think about, I don't know, you maybe don't remember the first year of life, but if you have a kiddo, a grandchild, think about that first year of life, the amount of development that occurred within the brain and the body as you learn to get upright and on your 2 feet. You were working at it day in and day out, intensely. You were totally in a learning environment to understand how to get up on your 2 feet and then start walking. And it didn't happen overnight, right? We have, with the same level of intensity, moved towards a disease state as we've lost our movement and flexibility and just healthy posture, musculoskeletal health. We've lost that over time because we live in such a toxic world. So what happened? Something went wrong. I'm sure a lot of you have seen this diagram before. We were meant to move. And if we are sitting at a workstation, even standing at a workstation, this is training your body to a level of intensity for hours, right? If you think about how long you're sitting during your day, 6, 8, 10, 12 hours. And when we get off the workstation or we take a break and we get home, what are we doing? We're again sitting. So if you think about it in terms of training, right? Think about an Olympic athlete who is training hours on end, 6, 7 days a week, and they are focused and honed in on the fundamentals of their sport, doing it over and over and over with a repetitiveness and a consistency and a commitment, right? You're doing the same thing if you are sitting at a desk day in and day out. You are doing this to a level of intensity. So if this is what you are doing, that means you need to do with the same level of intensity, you need to get out of that posture and you need to activate and move your body in different ways all the time, every day for life. Because if this is what you're doing, this is a body that is going to be dying sooner. We know sitting is killing us, period. You look at the stats and we know that people who sit for 6 hours or more lead a sedentary lifestyle. We know that they are more likely to die. Women, it's 94% of us are more likely to die 6 hours or more leading a sedentary lifestyle. If that's what we're doing. Men, you guys are like 52%. This was a 13-year study of 130, or maybe it's been a little while. It's like 123,000 people over a 13-year period of time. They really assessed their activities, behaviors, and how long they sat. If you sat for 6 hours or more, led a sedentary lifestyle, more likely to die in that time frame than those who didn't. So the goal is to move your body. And what anthropologists have found is that our body needs 12 to 13 miles of walking a day to stimulate the brain and stimulate our structure. 12 to 13 miles. So if you have a Fitbit on or a smartwatch and it's tracking how many steps you're taking a day, usually what we're told, 10,000 steps. Well, guess what? If you're only taking 10,000 steps in a day, you're only getting between 5 and 6 miles. So you need to more than double that in order to get the appropriate input and activity into a musculoskeletal system to help support your brain and brain health, right? So the main thing is we are not walking enough, we're not moving our body enough, and that needs to change. So we can literally look at posture and know if somebody is healthy or not. Or get a good idea if their body is and brain is under some significant stress. So are you living your best life or not in terms of your posture? Because good posture is good for you. It means better sports performance. It means good energy, vitality, better harmony within the system, likely reduce stress, because if we're open to the world, we're opened up and showing extension, ready to receive our world, right? If we're under stress, we go into protection mode, we protect this area, we close up, go into survival mode, inability to respond to stress, right? Typically people who are here are successful and they're aging gracefully. And the opposite, or the other end of the spectrum, is bad posture is bad for you. Right? We see sports injuries, we see it impacts our breathing, we see pain and arthritis, we see people who have to go through joint replacement surgery, an attitude of struggle that goes back to poor ability to respond to stress, see poor digestion, rapid aging, impacts our digestive system, can impact our cardiovascular system with higher blood pressure. Right? So literally, if you address your posture and you move your body, then you're probably going to be healthier, not only today, but years from now. And I'm going to tell you, you want to think about 10, 20, 30 years from now, not just today. Everything you do today lays a foundation for tomorrow and the next day and the next day. So for you to think short term is really a disservice to your health, right? Do you want to be healthy? Do you want to be able to do the things that you do now and 10, 20 years from now? You want to enjoy the life that you've created into your years of retirement? You know, you want to do the best. A lot of people are saving their best years for retirement, right? You're saving up and want to explore and adventure and all of those things. But if you don't have your health, how well can you do that, right? Health is your greatest wealth. So I love this. There's a chiropractor out there. His name is Tommy John, and he's got some really great things available in terms of movement. But this is a quote from him. He says, "There is no reality where you live in, where you can train 3 days a week to live 7 days a week. Your body doesn't like that math and will tell you with symptoms. Movement is life, and life requires us to prepare to experience it through movement." So we need movement and activity in order to live and express in this life that we live. In order to process our world, we need movement. So your body is designed to move. Doesn't matter if you're training and you're in rehab, your recovery, you're performing, your body is designed to move. And if you are not moving, you are moving towards death faster. So you must prepare to a level greater than what your life will demand without causing more injury. Okay. So you must constantly challenge your body and move your body in different ways. That's the intent of spinal hygiene, is how can you counteract the stress of your daily life with the opposite, right? If you're sedentary or not moving a lot, how can you counteract that with lots of movement, right? Challenge your body without causing injury. And you must move frequently, intensely, daily for the rest of your life. Okay. So I want to get into some movements here. So let's see. Let's do, I'm seeing if I want to change my background here. Thanks for, I don't know how to take you off, Lena. So that it's just me. Let's see. view. Okay, well, we're going to have to do this one. And I want you to see me because we're going to go through this first movement. And this first one is what I call the spinal wave. Okay. So with the spinal wave, I have some videos on the website or on our YouTube channel that just go over cervical ranges of motion. The wave actually couples cervical range of motion with thoracic and lumbar range of motion, so you can have a more dynamic movement that hits the entire spine. It's beautiful. I love it. So with the wave, okay, feet are going to be about shoulder width apart, but I want you comfortable, maybe a little bit wider. And we're going to first start by folding forward. Okay, so we're going to wave forward. Now, when you do this, this is what we're doing. We're contracting our flexors, right? And when we do that, we pull or round out or stretch our extensors to the back. Now, it's okay to intentionally go into this movement because we need to be able to do that. It's not like we're just going into this movement by sitting all day, right? It's very different when we're intentionally moving our spine segmentally to contract and expand areas of the body. Okay, so what happens is, similarly to cervical range of motion, you're going to tuck your chin, and then you're going to think segmentally that upper cervical spine is going to roll down and over your other cervical spine vertebra into your thoracic, into your lumbar. Okay, so you tuck your chin, you drop your chin down. You're going to close or round out your shoulders as you fold down to stretch out the shoulders back through here. So tuck, round down. Okay, bring your hands in. You're going to round all the way down. Okay, into the thoracic spine, into your lumbar spine, and you're going to go all the way down, only to the point of your fullest range of motion. Don't go past the point of pain. Okay, once you're here, you're completely stretched out through that extension of the back. Then you're going to follow your head again. So you're going to tuck your chin, and you're going to extend back. So you're going to go to extension, then you're going to open up your hands, get into some extension into your thoracic. You go up segmentally, extension. You're going to open up, keep your head back, extension here. Okay, and you're going to do it again. So tuck your chin, roll forward, bring your arms around, stretch out those shoulders. Okay, and all the way down. And you come to that fullest range of motion. You're going to open up, follow your chin. So you tuck your chin, come up, extension, open up, get some extension into the lumbar spine all the way. And when you do that, it will feel great. Now, one thing, as you're rounding, this is easy. When you get down to where you're going into extension, I want you to think about getting extension into the thoracic spine. So you need to get extension through here. So you're going to follow your chin. I don't want you just coming up, okay? I want you to really work to get extension in here, right? You're not going to just come up here, extension all the way up. And make sure you keep your mouth closed as you're going into extension, and you may even feel some stretch right above your pubic bone into your belly when you do this. You know, you're here. Okay, so this is going to feel awesome. It is a nice movement to couple flexion and extension of a spine that has been in so much flexion, right? We need to activate the back of the body. We need this to be opened up and get some movement here. You have healthy movement here. That means you're better able to receive your world, right? Receive here, open this up, healthy organ function, better ability to respond to stress, better movement spinally, right? So we want the spine to move. So I love that. I call that the spinal wave. And the goal is, just like I said in cervical ranges of motion, you want to do this as often as possible, as many reps that you can get every day for the rest of your life. Reinforce that movement and that input, right? You're going to do hundreds of thousands of movements in this way. And so spinal wave, the goal would be 30 to 50 a day, or you could set a timer and do 2 minutes of them, but you're really going to feel better as you get that forward and extension movement because your body's just not used to being an extension if you live in the world today. If we go into ranges of motion of rotation, okay? So again, we're in a coupled cervical rotation, right? So here's cervical. You're going to go to that greatest range of motion. Don't go past the point of pain. So if you're here, that's where you're going to stop. You're going to work into that as you get better range of motion over time, because you're going to be doing this all the time, right? Every day, hundreds of thousands of repetitions. So with rotation of your entire spine, you always start with your head. So you turn, and you're going to turn your shoulders, and then you're actually going to, so I'm rotating to the right. You're going to pull with your right hand, and you're going to pull yourself into more rotation. Now, to counteract what's going on through the front of the hip, you're actually going to activate or contract the left glute as you go into rotation. And that's going to allow for further rotation into this right side. So if you watch me, you're going to rotate your shoulders, pull with this back hand, and then contract this left glute to get further. Okay, I'll do it again. So you go to the other side, you pull with this hand, contract your right glute, and you'll go further. So rotate, pull, contract. Rotate, pull, contract, opposite buttocks. So again, you can get into that full rotation. You'll start to really feel the pelvis and how much this is a keystone or an anchor to the rest of the body. So you're activating top and bottom, right and left, and it feels really good. This core, which is the front, sides, back, this core, the barrel of the body, is oftentimes so, it's just not utilized. And so a lot of times we see this forward posture because this isn't activated appropriately enough. And so it is just not activated in a way that it needs to be. So this movement allows that for you. So head, rotate shoulders, pull, opposite buttocks, contract. Okay, same thing on this side. So turn, shoulders, contract. You just do it over and over and over. This feels lovely. Now the last one. So we just did rotation, we did flexion and extension, and now we're going to do lateral flexion, right? And if you remember with a cervical spine, I say use this chin as a fulcrum. And you're going to go straight to one side, right? Your brain and your body always wants to take the path of least resistance. So if you're lateral flexion and say, oh, I can get there, I just need to rotate and then get there, right? You'll automatically do it. So you need to, again, use this fulcrum and go straight to one side. Okay, and I can already tell this right side is different than the left, so I need to do this more. But you'll start with your head. You're going to be in your feet. Okay, so again, hands or feet flat on the floor, about shoulder width apart. And when you do this, you're going to go back, you're going to touch, these are your adductors here. You're going to take your hands, you're going to touch the back of your adductors. Now you want to make sure that you're going straight to one side over the other. Okay, so sometimes people will start to round forward. I don't want you to do that. If you're going to compensate, I'd rather you open up for that. Okay, but I want you to go straight to one side over the other. You're going to touch your inner thighs on the back side. Okay, and you're going to, as you do this, you want to try to hit lower and lower as you go. So head, then you're going to go back side, head, back adductors. Okay, now one thing I want you to keep an eye on, you want to keep your feet balanced. Okay, so you don't want to go to one side and then, oh, I'm going to try and reach and shift to one side, right? You want to do that. You can as a movement, but I want you to think about engaging and keeping your feet balanced with how much pressure you're putting down. So another way to do this, as I guess a higher level of intensity, is to, I'm going to go on my knees so you can see me, but is to put your hands above your head, fingertips. Okay, this you're going to feel through the upper back. This is going to really engage and feel good, but it's going to burn. So as you're doing this, you're going head, and then you're dropping to one side, and same thing. Okay, head, and then lean to one side. And again, if you're going to open up this way versus going this way. I want you to open up the chest if that compensation is going to happen. And making sure you're distributing your weight through your feet or your knees appropriately. You can do this, you can do this sitting, you can do it kneeling, you can do it standing, you can do it on your back when you're laying down. All of those engage your body in a different way, but it's taking that spine through its healthy range of motion, which is what you need, which is what your body needs. Now, what about breath? The breath will happen as So, just make sure you're breathing, preferably through your nose, but you can breathe through your mouth too. That is the biggest thing is just making sure you're breathing. There's no one way to do it. So again, I love this Tommy John quote. There is no reality you live in where you can train 3 days a week to live 7 days a week. Right? You need to be doing this every day. The more you challenge the body, the better off your body will be, period. You need movement. Movement is life, and life requires us to prepare to experience it through movement, meaning movement is a main sensory input with how our brain processes our world. So if we're more upright, we have healthy posture, how we process and perceive the world is significantly different than if we have poor posture, we don't have movement. It's literally an inability to process things. So if there's one thing that you take away from this workshop is that you need to be moving every day as frequently as possible. Think about the postures that you are in on a daily basis. What are you intensely training on in terms of your body in your work postures? Because you need to do the exact opposite to intensely train your body in movement, challenge your body so that you can literally live and do the things you desire to do in a body that is healthy, period, right? So I want you to watch those movements over again once I upload this. I want you to watch it, and I want you to do those movements every day on a regular basis. You should be picking a movement for your neck, your mid back, and your low back that you can do on a daily basis. And then you can add more in as you go, change them up, but anything to support different type of input into a structure that supports a healthy spine and a healthy body, and ultimately a healthy life. So I appreciate you. Thanks for being here for the workshop tonight. When you show up here, when you hear this content, this holds you accountable to making better choices when it comes to your body. So I really appreciate you being here on a Tuesday night for half an hour plus to better yourself, better how your body moves, and really commit to it because only you can do it. You are responsible for the state your body is in right now. And you are also responsible for what your body can do. You are the only one who can do it. And yes, it's a responsibility, but it's also empowering. So love and appreciate you. Thanks for showing up in your chiropractic care, and thanks for showing up for you. I look forward to seeing you in the office and hearing your takeaways. So I'll see you when I see you.